Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Healing Circle number 32. And we have a very special guest tonight that I'm really excited. He's been on before, and I'm excited that he was able to join us again tonight. But before I get into that, I just want to make a few announcements. At about 10:27, I'm used to doing this from at 10 a.m. At about 10:57, we'll be taking a short break and we'll be calling into Blog Talk so we can bring in the Blog Talk listeners. So I just want to announce that I have a couple of classes coming up. The first two are audio. The last one I'm going to mention here is a video. And on September 23rd, which is next Wednesday, which is a perfect day for this class because of the major energy shift that is going to be happening for humanity. And that's going to be a 2-hour class, and that's called Be the I Am You Were Meant to Be. And on September 30th, it is Sacred Space and Self-Protection, and that's going to be an hour-and-a-half class. And there's more details to these, which you can find on this site that I'm going to give you in a moment. October 7th at 8:30 p.m., and these are all Eastern Standard Times for 2 hours. We're going to be doing some shamanic journeying, and you'll discover your power animals, and you'll learn how to work with them for healing, for growth, for insight, and answers to your questions. And how you can sign up for those classes is you can go to www.thespiritualbistro.com and you can join for free, even if it says oops. Don't worry about it. You can still join for free. And then from there, you can join www.the Spiritual Guidance Network. And that is where you will see a list of spiritual experts that have mastered a lot of their path. And I've mastered a lot of my path, but I also say that I will be learning until I take my last breath. So anyway, you can sign up for those there. And then on October 24th and 25th, I will be doing in person the Be the I Am You Were Meant to Be at the Garden of Healing Yoga and Wellness Center at 27 Bayard Street in New Brunswick, New Jersey. The telephone number there is 732-745-9642. And you can ask for Carla. She's the owner. She's amazing. She is so loved. And then on the 24th, I'll be doing that class, and then the next day, the 25th, I'll be open for personal one-on-one healings. Then on November 8th, I'm going to be doing a group healing with a journey to witness yourself being created, your soul for the first time. And if we have time, we're going to also time travel to heaven on earth, a time when earth was like heaven. And that is going to be at the Soma Center at 511 Raritan Avenue in Highland Park, New Jersey. And that telephone number is 732-777-9642. And you can ask for Bobby King Ellis. Thank you. Welcome, Jason Kirkpatrick. Please say hello.
Hi. So is this where I'm telling myself about it? Telling everybody about myself?
Yes.
So my name is Jason Kirkpatrick, and I live down in Big Pine Key, Florida, which is close to Key West, if everyone knows where that is. So I am very blessed to have the life that I live. I work, my path is as a certified transformational life coach and Reiki master, energy healer. I'm also continuing to learn, so I pretty much utilize shamanism a little bit, sound healing, essential oils, all that kind of fun stuff in my healings. I guess, as everybody does their path, I say Reiki's kind of the gateway modality. I kind of started there, and, everybody who does energy work or healing kind of has their own thing because everybody's path is different. So that's kind of what I specialize in. It's kind of hard to say everything that I do because I just take a bunch of different things that resonate with me and say, there it is.
And you work really awesome with the elements, especially wind.
Yes, I have been blessed with that. They even noticed that down here, so that's good to know.
Oh, really? How awesome.
Yes.
Very awesome. And you also do a meetup down in Big Pine, don't you?
Yes, I run a spirituality meetup on meetup.com. We're called Holistica, Community of Big Pine, if you go on to Meetup. And we also have a Facebook page called Holistica Pathways to Wellbeing. And if you want to find me on Facebook, my Facebook page is called Dancing Pathways, which will soon be changed because I am in the process. I've changed my business name. I just haven't switched everything over yet. So I will post that when the time is ready. But right now you can find me on Dancing Pathways.
Are you ready to announce that name yet or no? Yes,
my new business name is called Vision Life Coaching.
Oh, I like that because you also do life coaching. Please mention that.
So I am I'm a certified transformational life coach. I was certified through the Dream Builder program with the Life Mastery Institute with Mary Morrissey. You probably know her because she's done work with Bob Proctor and Wayne Dyer and some other Hay House well-known individuals. So I got certified through her program, and it's the first program where people are certified as what they call transformational life coaches. So instead of me saying I'm a business coach and I'm going to help you with your business, or I'm a health coach and I'm going to talk to you about nutrition and say you need to do X, Y, Z, I actually help you connect with your spirit and your soul and find those answers for yourself and how to bring those forth using the universal laws, like the law of attraction and duality and gender and vibration, to be able to manifest the life that you'd love to live based on, working with kind of like quantum physics, the world around you, how energy actually, how we relate to everything around us through vibration and frequency and energy, and how our thoughts create and manifest a reality and all that fun stuff. So I help people with all of that and how to teach them the skills of how to use all of those universal laws for themselves personally in manifesting the life that they would love to live.
And if it that was a mouthful. So woo. So if somebody wanted to contact you because they were interested in connecting with a coach, or if they were going to be traveling, because we are going into winter, if they're going to be traveling through Big Pine, what's the best?
Florida Keys. Best way of contacting me, you can contact me at jason@visionlifecoach.com. And you can also, if you go onto meetup.com and you go to Holistica Community of Big Pine, you can always email me there because I am the organizer of that group. And you can always call me I actually have a Vermont number still because I lived in Vermont and I live down here, but I never wanted to give up my roots, I guess you could say. So my number is an area code of 802-922-4971. So that's my phone number. And again, jason@visionlifecoach.com, or you can reach me on Facebook. And that's about it. And meetup.com.
You crack me up. Okay, so anyway.
One of the best things in life is to never take yourself seriously.
Oh my gosh. And you and I are perfect examples of that, because whether we are, and I'm only speaking about us because that's all I can really speak of.
Right.
When you and I are together, whether we're in person or on the phone or doing what we're doing here, we so allow ourselves to be free to be ourselves. We allow ourselves to be silly if that's what we need to be. And we can bring it in when we're having a serious conversation. And which also ties into tonight's subject, because we've worked very hard to be in this place.
Mm-hmm. Which allows you to, when you're in a rough situation, if you can just giggle, it helps you to move through that so much easier. That's why they created something like laughing yoga. Something like laughing yoga, giggling helps so much in your energy field, that if you can just laugh at yourself, and well, I shouldn't say at yourself, but with yourself, like if you can step outside of the situation and be like, it's kind of like when people when someone trips and falls and you don't want to laugh, but part of you wants to giggle, it's kind of like I can look at myself when I trip and fall and laugh at myself. And I do that with everything in my life. I mean, even doing these radio shows, and when I record myself, half the time I'm like, did I really do that? And the last show that you and I did, I watched it with my partner, and I laughed at myself literally the whole time. I found myself to be hysterical. Maybe not for the reasons that other people would laugh at, but I was just like, oh, look at me.
And as you know, and I mean, I'm sure you'll agree is what I meant to say, is that we understand that it just doesn't, something like this doesn't happen overnight, giving yourself this freedom. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling with jealousy. There's a lot of people struggling with judgment and their choices, not in a struggle. Well, some people are struggling in their choices that they have to make right now. But
some people just don't understand the responsibility that we have as individuals with the choices that we make. I mean, in regards to being jealous or the judgment that a lot of times is what causes that jealousy, the choices that we make manifest the life that we live. So we have a responsibility to be aware of the choices that we make, because a lot of people live their life by default and not by design, which therefore can make things like judgment and jealousy escalate to an issue that might seem unbearable to them.
I thought I lost an earring.
So people can,
exactly.
Right. So the choices you make are very important, but a lot of times people are making choices without even realizing that they're making choices.
Well, yes, because it's been a habit of pattern for them for so long that it's a comfortable flow for them. And some people don't even realize it.
Right. Well, and a lot of it is circumstance and condition based, right? You've been brought up by your parents and even your friends and the school that you grew up in, everybody, your community that you've surrounded yourself with. Right. Social conditioning, the circumstances have said, it's kind of like that thing of I'll be happy when. Sometimes you just have to choose to be happy. If you're constantly waiting for the perfect situation, the perfect scenario to really be the way that you want to be, it's never going to happen. I shouldn't say never, but it's rare that it will happen.
It's right. It will delay it.
Right.
And because there is a cause and effect with energy. So if people are consciously practicing judgment and jealousy,
mm-hmm.
they don't realize how deeply they are affecting themselves unconsciously.
Right. Well, it's kind of, think of it this way. Everything is on a spectrum, right? At least my beliefs, this is what I believe in, everything's on a spectrum. Everything because of duality. So if you're over here with judgment and jealousy, and the thing that you really want to manifest is on the opposite end of the spectrum, you're going to be manifesting, if you're focusing on jealousy all the time, then you're going to be manifesting more of this side of the spectrum when you really want more of what's over here. So, I mean, our emotions are really just a guidance system to tell us, like, if you're feeling jealous, you need to be able to step back and say, whoa, what's going on here? Because if you're feeling jealous, you want to say, okay, what is it? If I'm feeling this way, I probably want what's over here. And what do I need to do to get myself into alignment with what's over here so that I can manifest that for myself?
Right. And once you check in with that, then you can flip the page and say, okay, it's not coming from me. Who did I just pick up and match vibrationally this energy and then clear it off? But let's say it's not you, you know. First of all, I want to give a couple examples. Maybe somebody is favored at work by the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a perfect one. Well, anybody who is jealous over that. Let the dogs out. Woof.
Bob just got them down. I put them in their kennel so that they'd be quiet, and obviously they must be fighting over a toy. Speaking of, they just wanted to give everyone an example.
Yes, they did. And see, we laughed about it and joked about it. So, because life is serious enough, you know. Anyway, where were we?
So we were talking about
examples. Another example is if somebody is in a unhappy marriage or relationship, or say they're single, whether they're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. If one of their friends finds love,
right, the jealousy of being in a relationship.
And then that throws in a whammy to the couple who are in love.
Right, or finances. That's a big one for a lot of people. Either people who are poor being jealous of people who are rich, and sometimes even people who are rich being jealous of people who are poor, just because, well, I shouldn't even say poor, but sometimes there's this whole idea of living humbly and simply to someone who's living humbly and simply is taken for granted. But someone who might have a lot of money and has a lot of responsibility can look down at someone who doesn't have that much responsibility with jealousy, like, oh, I wish I didn't have all this money and so I could just live without all this responsibility, where there's someone who's over here that is living humbly. It's like, I wish I had your money.
Maybe they could swap.
Right. Flip-flop. But everyone has their cross to bear, right?
Yeah, because we all come in with the agreements that we made to learn in this lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah. So sometimes people are not consciously aware of being jealous or judgmental.
That is very true. And people have to be ready to hear about when they are in that space or not, because if someone's being jealous and if they're being judgmental and they're not ready to hear it from somebody else, then they're not going to listen. You can tell them until you're blue in the face that they're being judgmental and that they have jealousy issues, and they're not going to hear you unless they're ready to really deal with that energy.
Exactly.
It's very frustrating for other people, but sometimes you just have to choose to love them and live your life by example.
Well, I know that you and I both agree on this, that we can love all human beings because they're divine beings.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that we like their behavior where it's at in the moment. So therefore, we may need to remove ourselves.
Right.
And sometimes that's removing yourself from family.
Afar.
What was that?
It's like, I'm going to love you, but I'm going to love you from afar.
Yes. Far, far away.
I love you this much. Over there.
Mm-hmm. And we mean that,
Right.
for our listeners, we sincerely mean that, but what people don't understand is people who are in a dysfunctional space, whether it's depression, jealousy, judgment, anger, right? Bitterness, lacks. Where am I going with this, Jay?
Well, it really just means that you get in your life what you allow. So if you're going to allow yourself to be around negative people, or people who are, in essence, not giving the love in return, like they're not finishing that cycle, if you're constantly a giver and if they're constantly bringing you to a not balanced or harmonized or loving space because maybe you get frustrated, then it's best to love someone from afar. You can love someone as much as you want in their presence when they're loving in return, but when it gets to the point where you loving them is detrimental or harmful to yourself or your own energy, then you need to remove yourself from it. That's when you need to choose to love someone from afar. And it's not even that you don't love that person, it's you saying, I don't want this in my experience and I'm not going to allow it to be in my experience. So if I only get what I allow and I want more love in my life and this person's not giving me the love, then I'm going to love you from afar and I'm going to put myself around some other people who will help me, build that energy that will keep me in the vibration that I want to be in. And I shouldn't say keep me, because you can't rely on other people to hold your vibration for you.
We're responsible ourselves.
Right. But it's a lot easier when you're around other people who are consciously working their baggage.
Exactly. And able to own it.
Well, that's a big thing.
Oh my gosh, that's a really big thing. It's so hard.
That's a whole other show, but even healers and people like Jean and myself, there's still a lot of ego and baggage in some people who do this work. There's a lot of people, it's hard, and I say this lovingly, but because a lot of times there, people like that, and it might even happen to me sometimes that things come up and ego takes over, and I might not even be aware that the ego is taking over. And I do my best to walk my talk and to be as authentic as I can be. And it takes other healers like Jean to be around me to sometimes be my reflection that if I'm not being authentic and I'm not walking my talk, you want to be around someone who's loving enough to be like, Jay, listen, I love you and I know you'd want to know this, but you're saying this and doing this, so I just want to make you aware of it, which is nice because then I can, and if it's said in a loving way,
for me.
Right. Right. And sometimes it's easier. You just call up the person. You're like, I love you, but you're frustrating me because of X, Y, Z. And it's great to be able to have relationships with people where you can do that. Because a lot of people, as soon as you say something, that's where the whole judgment, jealousy thing pops in instantly. And you're like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yes, because they take it as a personal attack.
Right. And
they take it personally. And that is when their baggage is coming up of lack of self-worth, lack of self-acceptance, really. Mm-hmm. Because if you fully accept yourself, you're going to be confident in who you are. Now, does that happen overnight? No, it takes steps. And we're going to talk about tools.
So, you want to talk about tools now?
Whenever you're ready. We don't have to talk about them right now.
Well,
well, here, there's a lot of, here's a perfect example. You talk about people out there in the holistic world that are still working on their shadow ego. Mm-hmm. Some work on it more consciously than others.
Right.
In the holistic realm. And we're simply just talking about that right now.
Well, and some even modalities are specifically geared towards working on the shadow self for the most part.
Yes. And we can be, it can be, I want to try and choose the right word. I want to say frustrating, but I'm trying to choose a lighter word. So if you come up with one, please throw it out there. We get, like an example, if I post something, here's an example on Facebook, something that I might be doing, like coming to visit you or being at an event or finding love or whatever it is that I'm posting, right? Mm-hmm. I will get, not all the time, but I would say at least 50%, I will get someone that will say, oh, I'm so jealous.
Mm. Well, that makes me think of, I can't remember exactly who said it, but it's the idea that we come into everything that we experience energetically as neutral. We charge it with a positive or a negative based on our perceptions, our conditioning, our circumstancing, and how we come across it. So take something as simple as us posting a picture. Like I live in the Florida Keys. During the wintertime, I post a lot of pictures of sunshine on Facebook. My intention is I'm sharing the warmth and the sun with you. Now, some people are like, you're being a pain in my butt and you're rubbing it in that I'm in the snow and you're in the sun. And it's like, okay, well, if you're taking it that way, that's your perception. That's the energy charge that you're putting onto it. And that's their jealousy and their judgment and their baggage. Whereas my intention is, I know you're in the cold and you're in the snow, and some people really love that, but then some people are really wishing that they were in the sunshine. So I'm like, I just want to share sunshine with you. So here's a picture of, a beautiful Key West sunset or the sunrise or the day, because, we go out in the boat sometimes.
Well, and I really love when you do it, especially when it's really cold here in Vermont. Right. But yes, and the reason why they react like that, as you know, is because they're jealous. Mm-hmm. But the comment is a judgment comment. And right. The root of that is that they're really miserable that they cannot create a space of finances to allow them to do that. And that is the root. The root is fear.
And the funny thing is that when it really comes down to it, a lot of times it might not take as much as you think to do something or be something that you really want to do or be. Like if someone wants to come down here to the Keys, then people might think it's going to take a whole lot of money. But sometimes you can just say, okay, creator, universe, infinite source, whatever you want to call your higher power, show me the way. And I mean, I've had several friends. I mean, you yourself have used this method to come visit me. Like Bob and I moving down here, it was a little scary, and yeah, it took some money, but not as much money as I would think it would be to move 2,000 miles away. I mean, we were lucky enough.
And when you follow your guidance and your divine symbols and messages that they give us all the time, then it all unfolds. I mean, you had a job within what, 2 or 3 days of being there.
Yeah, my partner actually he was freaking out when we got here because he had a job before we got here, and he's like, if we're going to get a place, you need to get a job. We need to, make money. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'll find a place. I literally, like, one day I made up my resume. The next day I went to go, maybe it was a couple days later, I went to go print them out at a place down the road. And as I was printing them out, we asked the lady behind the desk, do you know of anyone who's hiring? They're like, yeah, the office next door. I walked into the office. 5 minutes later, I walked out, and my partner was like, oh, they don't need anybody? And I was like, no, I have the job. I'm starting tomorrow. And he was like, only you.
But that's because you allow and you believe and you trust and you have faith.
And I'm not saying that that's always easy to be in, because there's moments when you're energetically, like, the ability to allow is rough. But the best thing is to be easy and gentle with yourself. Because the more you try to force something, the more you try to reach for something, it's almost like as you're reaching, you're pushing it away from you at the same time.
Exactly, and that's what people don't realize. And that's why I think it's very important for people to really get that your subconscious mind is what is doing your creating.
Mm-hmm. Right. A lot of people ask us in my training for life coaching, because it's all energy based. We talk about how we communicate with our creator, or how we communicate with being able to manifest. Because really all manifestation is communicating with source energy and saying, God, universe, creator, show me, give me this. Like, a lot of times we're always asking for something other than one of the best ways of manifesting something in your life is being grateful. And one of the best tools is doing the affirmations and saying things as if you have it already. I'm grateful that I have this, I'm doing this. One of the methods that I use is, imagine yourself 3 years in the future and start talking to yourself and telling yourself or a friend what your life's like. I'm so excited that I have a house here in the Florida Keys, and I have one in Vermont, and my kids are going to a private school, and I have this car or that car, and we're taking these trips. Like, you talk about everything in the present as if you're living it. That helps draw that energy to you to manifest it, because everything is vibrational based. And so you communicate with the reason that things are subconscious, how we communicate with source energy or creator, whatever you want to call your higher power, is more through feeling, which is more our subconscious. It's not what you're thinking, it's what you're feeling. So it's always the truth. So if your predominant way of thinking is one way, but you're feeling another, you could be telling yourself until you're blue in the face, I'm thinking positively, but if your subconscious is saying, I'm not worthy, then you're really telling the universe that you're not worthy. And you're just going to keep attracting more stuff to make you feel unworthy until you learn the lesson of self-worth.
You're going to get frustrated and jealous and judgmental. Jason, we're going to put everybody on hold. And remember, everybody can still see you and hear you. And I'm going to call into Blog Talk. Get your water ready. So if you want water too, Jay, get your water.
I've got it ready.
Okay. Welcome, Blog Talk listeners. Jason, you're so funny. I love you so much.
I don't take anything overly seriously.
We've got Jason Kirkpatrick tonight joining us live here from Big Pine, Key West. And we've been talking about jealousy and judgment. And we're going to get into tools in just a moment. But first, let's do the water blessing. For those who are listening for the first time, have a glass of water, or if you have a water bottle, please take the lid off. And I've just recently found out, Jay, that I can do this with the water capped.
Oh,
so that's pretty cool. Anyway, it's helpful to know that. Anyway, I place my hands over the water through the divine, using my body. We cleanse the cells of the water, purify them, fill the cells with Creator, Mother, Father, God energy, Christ conscious energy, and blessings. So even though there's hundreds of people right now watching this and listening later in the archives, all your water will be uniquely designed for you. And it's ready to drink. How's your water, Jay?
It's delicious.
How's it taste? Does it have a different taste?
It actually does.
What does yours taste like tonight?
Well, the water that I had in here was actually from my office, because we have one of those filters that adds minerals and stuff in it, and it actually doesn't taste like it has minerals in it. Like normally it does, and now it just tastes pure, I guess.
Well, I guess the divine needed to just purify that mineral water. Anyway, so anybody who's listening on Blog Talk that wants to catch the first half of the show, it is recorded because we gave lots of examples. Jason, are you ready to like jump into tools and affirmations?
Sure.
Would you like to start off?
I will start off. Sure. One of the best ways when it comes to anything that you would think of as negative, anything that you're experiencing that you wouldn't want to experience, jealousy is probably one of the biggest things that you're probably experiencing that you don't want to experience. Now, one of the first steps is that you need to make yourself aware that you're having those thoughts, right? In my training, we talk a lot about how, are you thinking your thoughts, or are your thoughts thinking you? So you need to start being aware of when you're having a negative thought, or when you're experiencing thoughts or thinking thoughts that you wouldn't choose for yourself. So once you become able to discern when you're having a jealous thought, you can then therefore step back and ask yourself questions like, why am I reacting to this? What's making me feel jealous, or any other sense or thought or emotion? And what am I meant to be learning? What's the lesson I'm experiencing in this? And usually right before I do that, I will ground and center myself. So one of the easiest ways of doing that is stopping. A lot of times it's good to close your eyes, because that helps with the journey inward.
Unless you're driving.
Right. Unless you're driving, then don't. And then just take 3 really deep belly, like diaphragm breaths in through your nose. Now, in yoga, they do a lot with the sound. You just go. So when you go, right. So when you breathe in, you go. And you can actually feel that helping to drain. Even when you're doing like stretches and stuff, they tell you to do that, and it helps you go deeper into the stretch. And I notice it actually helps with when you're doing yoga and you feel like energy is coming up that you need to release. Doing that actually helps you with releasing that energy. And I've noticed that when I do this grounding exercise, that doing the, you actually almost feel that energy. You feel that energy starting to melt away from you. So when you do that 3 times, that helps ground you. It instantly puts you into your I am presence.
Well, let's all do that 3 times.
Okay.
I like that. I see what you mean.
I had to stop for a second though, because while I was in it, like I removed myself from the situation and I just saw both of you and I looking at each other being like, made me giggle a little to myself.
Well, I giggled out loud. Go ahead.
So when you do those 3 deep belly breaths, and if you don't say the sound, I always say inhale as much as you can until you can't inhale anymore through your nose, and then exhale through your mouth until there's nothing left. That's also a form of meditation. So if you do that 3 times in a row, you're in your I am presence. And then from there, you're pretty much connecting to your higher self. You're connecting to your spirit guides. You're connecting to the ability to your totem so that you can hear your signs and your symbols. You can get divine inspiration and it's not ego driven, because then you're not just reacting to something. You're actually taking the time to bring it to your higher self and say, what's going on here? And that's when you ask yourself those questions like, what's making me react to this? What's making me feel or think these, thoughts and these feelings? And what am I meant to be learning from this situation? What's the lesson? Because a lot of times the lesson has, and most feelings that we feel, most things that we experience that we wouldn't choose from ourselves are all based in fear, right? A lot of people will say there's only 2 primary emotions. There's love and there's fear. So if you're going to be experiencing one or the other, if I'm experiencing jealousy, usually that which I'm trying to experience, that which I'm trying to learn from, is going to be something that's going to bring more love into my life. So, I'm trying to think of a good example. In relationships, a lot of times we create codependent cycles, right? Mm-hmm. I've been in many. I have a Messiah complex. I'm not going to deny it. Have I been working through it and learning through it? Yeah, I've released a lot of it. When you first become a healer, you're like, I can heal everybody. Well, that's not.
You want to.
Right. The fact is you can't really heal anybody who's not ready and wanting to be healed. You can be sending them all the stuff that you want, and they can be taking it in, but it's still not going to change their perceptions of things. I can help them in the moment, but then sometimes out of that moment, or I shouldn't say never, because sometimes miracle healings happen, and sometimes us sending energy to someone who's not ready gives them like the aha moment where things happen. That's my personal belief. My brain went blank for a second. So when we're experiencing something that we wouldn't like, that's fear-based, and we want to experience more love, then we are going to start utilizing our tools, asking ourselves, what is it, the lesson that we're meant to be learning? The codependent cycle. I have a Messiah complex. I attracted a lot of people to me that are victims-based people. It's always, I want, me, poor me. And I'm like, well, I can help make you better. You might be sad, but I can make you happy. And all that did was drain me and leave me no energy for loving myself. And so until I learned how to love myself first, that whole motto, like love yourself, you have to be able to love yourself first before you can love someone else. Like I had to learn that lesson the hard way.
Yes, me too. Because we're both givers.
Right. And that's just one example. I mean, there's a lot of examples of self-worth issues where we don't treat ourselves with enough kindness and compassion and respect. And we put ourselves through a whole lot of turmoil and suffering and strife before we allow ourselves to, before we get to those aha moments, because that's really what time and space reality is for. It's this learning, evolving cycle for not only our physical selves, but our spiritual selves, because we take things from past lives into this life that we haven't moved on from or healed in the past. So we're going to put ourselves into experiences in this life, like choosing our parents, the communities we're in, the friends that we have, the schools that we go to help us learn those lessons. And sometimes we have issues in our life where it's like, I must have chosen to have a crash course right now, you know?
Yeah.
Some days you're like, what is going on here?
Oh my gosh, yes, yes.
And you just have to breathe through it and say, I chose this. What's the lesson here? Because as soon as you realize what your lesson is, the easier, the smoother you can move through that energy, and the sooner you can release, surrender that energy, allow yourself to move through it. But just know that from my experience, from the people I've worked with, that once you go through your aha moment of, I can release this and I've moved through this and this doesn't affect me anymore, you're going to get tested to make sure that that's really the case.
I was just going to bring that up if you didn't. Go ahead.
And sometimes that test is like a, and you're just like, whoa, I thought I healed that already, or I released that. And your reaction to it. There's some famous saying that says you can't control the reactions or what happens to you, but you can control your reactions to it. So sometimes bad things are going to happen to you, and you have no control over what happens to you, but you control how you react to the situations that are brought to you. And how you react to those energies is what allows you to actually, that helps you to manifest the life that you really want to live, and to release the jealousy and the judgment. And it's all about making choices and being aware.
Yes, definitely making the choices. The choice of, is this how I want? I've been, like, here's an example. If someone who's been stuck in a Eeyore space.
Gotta love those people.
Yeah, we do love those people. We do. We send them extra love.
I just. I love Eeyore. An Eeyore person. Sorry, I'm distracting.
That's okay. In that moment, people have a choice to switch that, because as you know, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, that the more that one chooses to raise their vibration with self-love, worth, and acceptance, it makes it harder to be around people who are in a negative space. You can do it for a little while, but like after all day, you're like, oh my God, just take me home and put me to bed. And because you're exhausted from the draining of the energy.
And a lot of times people, humans in general are very empathic beings. I believe that we're all empaths. A lot of people might not agree with that, but the fact is you can tell that part of how we communicate is energy. It's energetic. It's what we feel from each other. You can look at someone and half the time you'll know if they're happy or they're sad just from looking at them. You don't even need to see their face. And sometimes you can tell that from someone that you can't even physically see.
And
because of that. And that can be draining.
Yes, exhausting. And
especially if you work in an environment of negative people, by the time you come home, I've worked in offices where, you have a lot of Eeyore people and a lot of victim-based people. And by the time you come home, and I come home to a chatty Cathy, partner, and he just wants to talk away because he's been with kids all day and he wants to have an adult conversation. And I'm just like, I can't even function right now. Can you just give me 5 minutes? And he's just like, but I need to talk, blah, 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 blah. And I look at him and he's like, you're not hearing anything I'm saying. And I'm like, no, because you're so drained sometimes that you just need to decompress and build back that energy. Because if you consciously if you're constantly around those negative people, they will suck you dry no matter how much you guard yourself.
Yes, they will. And, some of the things that I will do is, I'll do some deep breathing. I will breathe in my power if I felt that I have given my power away, or someone has tried to take it. I will also say affirmations every night when I get into bed after I send prayers out to humanity and to my friends, I'm always going through the gratitude list. I'm so grateful that I was able to walk, talk, hear, and see today. I'm so grateful that I was able to eat. I'm so grateful that I had the gas to get to my appointment today. I'm so grateful that Mercury in retro didn't mess up us being online tonight together for this show. And then this is just an example. And then after I do that, then I say, thank you, Mother, Father, God, Creator, for giving me the best day that is coming tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone I talk to tomorrow is going to be joyful and happy and helpful. And I thank you for all the connections and the right people that you bring into my life, because they're going to help further me, whether it's school, whether it's a business, whether it's learning something.
Right.
So, and by being grateful for that, like what you were saying earlier, how, you know, when you're teaching the life coaching stuff and you're talking about 3 years from now, talk as if you're 3 years from now.
In the present moment,
in
right.
The present moment. I know that didn't come out right. Thank you. But I think you knew what I meant. And I lost it.
But I love what you were saying about the gratitude before bed, because I was going to say, if you didn't bring it up, I was going to say one of the best things that I do that people really experience great benefit from is a gratitude journal at the end of the day, right when you get in bed, before you go to bed. I think Wayne Dyer is the one who really brought this about, is the gratitude journal. And I think that's where my mentor, Mary Morrissey, got it from as well, I believe, because she was friends with Wayne Dyer. But really just sit down and, like you say, you do your gratitude affirmations. I write that in a journal every night. And
well,
you know,
I think I will start physically writing it, Jay, because from my understanding and understanding through other speakers, but also through meditation, that by writing it physically is more kind of like more concrete to the universe.
Right. Well, because when you think about how we manifest things, everything first starts as a thought, right? Because we can say everything's created twice. We first create it with our thoughts, and then we put it on paper, and then we physically build it or do it. So when it comes to an affirmation, you can think the affirmation, but speaking it is more powerful than thinking it. And
right.
Then writing it down is more powerful than speaking it because it's more permanent. And then doing it is more powerful than thinking it, speaking it, or writing it. So there's this whole cycle of manifestation, and the more you do that, the more you're bringing that energy into your, I think Abraham Hicks would call it your vortex, right? Yeah. Bringing you into your vortex.
Right. And by speaking it, because sound carries the end vibration of the sound, goes out to the whole universe.
Exactly. I love sound healing. I use it a lot.
Oh yeah, me too. Look, I love this whistle. I got some of my sound toys right here.
Yeah, the other day I was doing a healing on a friend, and I just started singing and dancing, and she was like, "What were you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know. My guy told me to sing and dance and that you would get some benefit from it." And she was like, "I loved it." I was like, well, see, that's what happened.
and that's when I think we step more into our master roles, when we allow those guidances to follow through and to go with that without questioning.
Right. Exactly. And that's what we're trying to teach other people to be, is to master their way of, one of the universal laws is the law of thinking, and to really start mastering things like jealousy and judgment is you really need to start mastering your thoughts. Don't allow your thoughts to think you. You think your thoughts. You manifest the life that you're living. Don't let things happen by default. Don't let your condition-based thinking and the circumstances that you're experiencing tell you that that's all life has to offer you. If you're jealous because someone has more money than you or they have more toys, it's usually someone has more of something that you want. That's usually what jealous is. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a relationship or money or time or freedom, better health, all of that. See, now it's my turn.
See, this is how we laugh at ourselves, because we accept that we are divine beings having a human being experience, and as human beings, we can make mistakes.
Well, and the fact is we're going to say things in the way that the people who are listening are meant to hear it. And sometimes we might forget things because we might have an idea in our head, and it might be channeled, but we might only take it as far as it's meant to go, and whatever we forget was just meant not to be said.
Exactly. And another tool is affirmations in the mirror.
I love that.
You know, I'm really crazy about doing that stuff too.
I would be very careful from a shamanistic level. When you do things in the mirror, just make sure that that the mirror you're looking at doesn't have any doors or windows in the reflection, because that can bring in energies that you wouldn't necessarily, because when you're looking through a mirror is a doorway.
Probably another subject, Jay.
Well, right. I know it's another subject. I'm just saying be careful.
I know what you're talking about, yes.
But just be careful about what you're saying when you're looking in a mirror, because it's powerful and I love it. Just don't allow a door or a window in the mirror. Okay, continue. Affirmations.
If so, do what Jean does and hang copper rings on the mirror. Yeah, I'll tell you about it later. Okay. Anyway, looking in the mirror and telling yourself that you deserve, that you are worthy to have that promotion. You are worthy to find that love. You are worthy to find that house or apartment that's affordable to you. Mm-hmm.
And that's a perfect time and place to speak to, like, sometimes where your sense of lack of worth comes from, maybe from when you were a child or whatnot. Like, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, don't just look at yourself in the here and now. Like, look at yourself as that little girl or that little boy. And
all through the years of your life, because as we were discussing before we went live, that, you know, we could have been, let's say 6, 7 years old and heard the words,
right,
there's not enough,
mm-hmm.
or we will never be able to have this. Okay, so you heard that. So let's say you're an infant, mm-hmm. and the mother or the father or somebody in the room is holding the infant, and they're discussing, let's say they're discussing that they're losing their home, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? We can't pay the mortgage. We're in default, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that infant, especially an infant who is so vibrationally open, that's why people love babies, because they shine the brightest until we as adults wake up. Yeah, we love babies. And especially nightly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And
I would say Anaya, but she's a teenager now.
Right.
But babies shine brightly.
Right.
But
so in the meantime, that infant, on an energetic, subconscious level, has agreed to take that belief on.
Right.
So then they'll go out in the world and they'll spend many decades being jealous of their friends or their co-workers or their neighbors, but they don't realize consciously that they have accepted a negative programming.
Right. And a lot of times that negative programming is to help, well, it's always designed for them to grow, but sometimes it's to help their families grow too, because a lot of that programming can be generations back. And
Well,
so
yes.
not only are you working through your own jealousy and your own judgment, but you're helping your parents and your grandparents and your siblings to work on their jealousy and their judgment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ripple effect. You drop the ball and it just ripples outward.
And you only have to believe what resonates with you.
Right.
Here's an example. As you know, Jason, I'm in the process of recovering from a very bad burn.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor has told me, I've had 3 appointments now, and each time they've said to me, you're going to have a really bad scar. And sure, I hear their words, but I'm not accepting it. As soon as the doctor said that to me, immediately in my head, I said, why don't no, I'm not going to have a bad scar. If anything, I will have no scar. And that is a reality that I am accepting.
Right. Do you know what helps me with doctors when they give you prognoses?
What?
Is when I was talking to a lawyer about doctors, because a lot of doctors have malpractice issues, right? And with doctors, they say part of how they get out of things is they're not a master of anything. They're practicing medicine, which means that, okay, in their experience, there might not be a cure or a way, like in their experience, they're saying you're going to have a scar. But they're practicing medicine. They're not 100% for sure that you're going to have a scar. They might be telling you that, but there's no way of saying, they're practicing. So that's what I tell myself all the time. Anytime I get a prognosis from a doctor I don't like, I'm like, they're practicing.
Yes. And I don't have to own it.
Right. God, the creator, mother, father, God, the universe. It's up to, that my connection with that energy that's going to tell me what my body's going to look like.
And if my soul's agreement is to have some form of a scar, because I think it's important to say this.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Good.
Then I will choose, and you're my witness, and so is everybody else right now listening, that I will do whatever I can to minimize it. So me being a healer, I can work and talk to my cells, my skin cells. I can, once it's fully, skinned over, I can apply tea tree oil. I can apply lavender.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of other modalities that have a high vibration healing property that I can bring into that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
90 seconds.
Anyway, Jason, how can people get a hold of you again?
So you can email me at Jason, Jason, at visionlifecoach.com, and you can call me at 802-922-4971, or you can reach me at meetup.com, a Holistica community of Big Pine, or on Facebook on the page Dancing Pathways.
And especially if they're going to be traveling through the Keys.
Yes, come see me. I'd love to have you.
Jason, I'm so grateful that were able to be on tonight, and I'm excited to have you on again. I know that it kind of threw a lot of people off being on in the evening when it's usually in the morning, but I think it went very well, and I'm really grateful.
It's always fun to come onto your show, and I love chatting with you. We always have a great time. So
yeah, we do, and I miss you. I'm manifesting coming to see you this winter.
Let's do it.
Let's do it! And we'll do some more water ceremonies. Woohoo! Woohoo! Okay.
All right.
I want to thank everybody for listening in. I want to remind you of my upcoming classes. The first one next week, September 23rd at 8:30 p.m. And you can sign up for that on the Spiritual Bistro Network. And we will be live next Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Namaste.
Omate.
God bless you. Thank you for joining us. And always remember that you are very powerful. You are love. Any closing words, Jay?
I love you.
Mwah. I love you too, Jay. And I love everybody else that's here.
Yes.
Okay.
Next time. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
You too. Tell Bob I said hello.
I will.
All right, bye. And Lola.
I will.